Hey everybody, Dennis here from Ellis Canvas Tents. Today we're going to take a look at the Shackleton tent, the overall design, and some of its unique features. This is the 11 by 11. We also make it in an 8 by 8 and a 14 by 14 footprint. The Shackleton is definitely our most popular four-season tent, and for good reason. In the early days of Ellis, we used to make a wall tent, and if you've ever set one of those up, you know what a chore it can be. The 11 by 11 here weighs in at 57 pounds and can be set up by one person in under 15 minutes. The design comes from the original tent used by Ernest Shackleton in the early 1900s. His was also a center pole short wall tent with a square footprint, but we've added some unique design elements that have been developed by Ellis over the past 30 years, which make this incredibly functional. Come on inside. So first we'll take a look at some of the more broad, obvious features of the tent. Again, this is a single center pole design. This is one of the things that makes it so fast and easy for one person to set up. You've got front and back doors and windows. All of these have no-see-um mesh screens in them. It's great for traffic, people coming and going from either side of the tent. All of our stove jacks are located up high in the center of the tent. That does a few things. Number one, the stove is a central feature of the tent, so everyone can sit around it. You have good even heat distribution throughout the tent. And then the other thing is that most of your stovepipe is inside the tent. There's two great things about that. One is stability. You don't have to worry about your tent blowing around in the wind. And you're also retaining all of that heat that's in the pipe inside of the tent. So let's take a closer look at the door system. You've got a window on one side with an integrated mesh no-see-um screen. And on the other side, you've got the screen door and then the weather door, which is currently rolled up and tied away. One of the things about this is that there's very little pressure on the zipper chain itself. We think about this a lot because it's one of the elements of the tent that sees the most use. If you think of people constantly coming and going, zipping and unzipping, that's going to be one of the first parts of the tent under normal wear and tear that needs to be serviced. And we build the door system with that in mind. We can easily replace a zipper chain slider or the chain itself when the time comes. The other thing that you'll notice is that it's not canvas. This is a 5-ounce acrylic coated polyester, and it's one of the things that helps us take so much weight out of our tents, which is why they're 40% lighter on average than anything comparable. One of the most important things about our tents is the canvas itself. This is a 7-ounce Sunforger canvas. It's got an incredibly high thread count and a very tight weave. We send it down to Butler, Georgia, where it gets a true Sunforger finish, which is good for its lifetime. That's going to cover mold, mildew, water repellency, and we also add an FR treatment because all of our tents are wood stove ready. We're one of only 2 tentsmiths in the world that has access to this fabric, and we've been working with it for more than 20 years. We know how to build with this, we know where to reinforce it, and we know how to use it. So we're able to shed a lot more weight out of our tents without sacrificing any durability. It also dries faster after, say, a rainstorm on a hot day. Like a 10 or 12-ounce canvas would retain moisture, this is going to let it go much faster, making for a much more comfortable interior. It's also light and bright and gives the tent a nice feel during the day. One of the things that you'll notice about the construction that's unique to Ellis is this strapping. We build this in-house from the same 7-ounce Sunforger that the canopy is made from, and it runs from reinforcement point to reinforcement point throughout the tent like a network, giving it structure and added durability. So I mentioned before that the Shackleton tent has 2 floor systems that are interchangeable. One of the cool things about that system is this continuous zipper that runs all the way around the perimeter of the tent. That means that you can create an opening anywhere along the perimeter of the tent to run, say, an electrical cord or a propane line if you're heating that way. The other great thing is that you can access firewood from outside. You can actually open up this entire sidewall and the floor will lay flat and you can sweep out the tent as well. One of the questions that we get a lot from folks who are moving from a wall tent setup to the Shackleton is about headroom. Yes, we have a short wall, but you can see I'm sitting all the way in the corner of the tent and my head is not touching the canopy. You have standing headroom almost all the way through the tent because of those high door angles. We get the same question about sleeping. Again, we have the short sidewall, but the steep canopy angle going up to the peak means that I can have my cot right up against the side wall and plenty of clearance between my bed and the canopy above me. One of the most important design elements of the Shackleton tent is actually true of all of our tents, and that's the angled outdoor. When you combine that with the angles of the canopy, which are shedding water away from the entry point, you're able to leave the doors and windows open on a rainy day and not get any water inside. We like to think of a canvas tent as a place to live and not just a hole to sleep in. Another important detail is the door pull socket. So we've got this vinyl socket system rather than a spike and a grommet because we realized that that was a fail point. Putting a hole in a heavily reinforced, hard-working part of the tent was a place where the tent was eventually going to break. We've had this system going for more than 10 years and we've never seen it fail. The stove jack assembly is also worth taking a look at. You've got a hood that goes around the top portion of the jack and overlaps. Then the cover, which is currently removed because we've got the stove installed, slips in underneath of that and velcros to the stove jack. The cover is completely removable so that it can't be unrolled by the wind in the middle of the night, accidentally lean against your pipe and catch fire. In the peak of the tent, you've got your vent. That's fully screened in with the same no-seam mesh that we use in the doors and windows. That's going to be great on a hot summer day when you need to spill heat out of the tent, or also when you have the stove cranked up in the winter and you want some ventilation. There's also a loop at the top of the tent, right in the peak, which is really handy for when you get home and you need to dry the tent out. You can use that to hang up the tent in your garage or in your barn or in your basement. Thanks so much for visiting with us today, and I hope you enjoyed the tour of the Shackleton tent. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll see you out there.